Hey everybody, nice to see you. Today I've got the Seven of Pentacles as the obstacle and the Three of Wands as the opportunity. So let's get into it. Seven of Pentacles. This is like I see this as symbolizing here's the Marseille card, although it should be reversed, I guess, because this is the obstacle. Um, yeah, this is like it's a it's a card of it's a card of changing and transformation. It's an active card. Things are happening, and in terms of money, personal wealth, or even other things of value. In a sense, it's more likely that this might even apply to uh, things related to people, and not just on a physical basis. Pentacles can represent the health of your body, how fit you are. It could also represent your how beautiful you are, physical beauty. Um, that would be more around the 4 or 5 cards. By the time we get to the 6 and 7, it's still dealing with matters of people, but I think we're starting to get to an area that is describing events that revolve around ideas and concepts around wealth. So I think it could be reasonable to describe this as, let's say, um, like a person's reputation, a person's socio-political standing, something along those lines. And this card represents this is like the bridge between the 6 and the 8, or the king and the 8, depending on how you look at it. And it's like an investment. I think it often describes um, the act of investing in something in the future, and not so much like planting seeds would be a good analogy of investing in the future on a really physical, tangible level, right? I see this more as it's like doing someone a favor, that kind of investment. Where the thing you're investing in is, it's like reputation, political standing. It's still in the realm of value, but it's not tangible, like something you could eat, or like investing in a house or a place you could live. I would kind of see it as that. And I think this card being on the dark side, on the kind of warning side, I think this could be representing investments investments that are being made or have been made that aren't going to be paying off, or they won't turn out the way that the people, laying those plans and making those investments were intending for them to turn out. Now, I think that if this is if this is a scenario that is describing something that you're doing, which all of us have all of us have made some investment, that didn't work out at some point. Um, I think it's important to be to be open to the idea, open to the possibility that just because you have the means and the opportunity to invest socially in your political standing or something along those lines, it's important to remember that things there's no guarantees of how those things are going to turn out. People don't always keep their word, right? Um, Now, I don't think I would take that so far as to say that you know don't trust anybody, right? Don't don't make those types of investments in the first place. I just think that I think that significant disappointment, anger, frustration, rage. Um, in my opinion, these are emotional states that are entirely related to how you expected things to turn out. If you go into a situation thinking, well, we'll do the best we can, maybe we'll get lucky, we'll see how things turn out. If shit doesn't turn out the way you planned, you're probably not going to be like furious. I can't believe it did turn out. It's like, I love casinos, and sometimes at casinos, you'll see people like at craps. Let's say I like craps. You see someone at a craps table. They show up. They confidently make this bet, like one of these really sort of like hardline bets. It's very small odds of it happening. Huge payout if it does. And it's like they have 100% confidence, make the bet, and then they lose, and you just see them. They're like, "What the fuck? They had a whole thing. They had it all figured out. They saw this. They saw how it was going to go in their mind. They didn't even." And I think it's such a great example because it's like it's literally a bet at a casino, and the odds are like printed on the table, or the payout is printed on the table. But the payout pretty much indicates like if it pays 30 to 1, it's like, well, maybe because your odds are just worse than 30 to 1. And yeah, people make these investments on these bets, and then the way they react, it's as though they hadn't even considered that the thing might not work out. Um, so you can't stop investments from potentially not working out the way you wanted them to, but by being mindful of the fact that there is a possibility that they won't work out, at least you won't lose your cool. And it's important to remember, particularly in finance, particularly in fields where maybe you're making investments on a regular basis, Dogecoin to the moon. Um, you know, if if you need to make risky investments over and over and over again, statistically over time, you could have a winning strategy that still involves losing some of the time, right? Like great poker players. One of the main things that makes great poker players great is they stick to the plan. They stick to the program. They just play the odds, right? They don't they don't change their mind. Oh, I have a feeling about this. They just always play the, statistically the best play. And the thing that messes up poker players is used to be referred to as, playing on tilt. I'm not sure what the slang might be now, but getting upset, losing your cool, that's what that's what makes people stray from that strategy. And I'm not gonna argue that that just following the strategy is isn't boring. Like it is, but you're engaging in a risky process. It's best to stick to a strategy that over the long term has the best chance of success. And so I think for dealing with this kind of situation where an investment hasn't paid off, um, if someone promised to do you a favor, again, politics, social kind of stuff, and then they don't come through, if you stay cool, you may get another opportunity to interact with this person, and maybe the second time around they will come through, and maybe they'll come through way over the top. We just don't know. But the possibility is there, and it's only there if you don't blow up and end the relationship, right? So that's the personal side of, I think, uh, this situation. And then on the flip side, this also happens to other people, right? Like this happens to other people, and sometimes you're the person that's failing another individual to come through. It certainly helps to manage life on the long term, to be aware of who might have a poor, idea of how dependable you are because of the times that you haven't come through. Maybe people aren't engaging with you in the way that they used to. It's like, that's why it's important to remember, even that one time, it could be easy sometimes to make the excuse like, oh well, I made the promise, but this one time I'll fail to live up to it. I'll make it up next time. Um, it for some people it registers really strong. Also, you might be interacting with an individual that you personally haven't interacted with before, who has been betrayed, you know, particularly in matters of finance in this case, right? Um, when I was younger, this is like, this is a sad story time. When I was younger and I had enough money so that I was at the point where I was able to invest in people, like I had enough in savings that I was able to help people that I knew get projects off the ground and stuff like that, right? Um, it it got to the point where after a couple of years of helping people produce records, helping little businesses get off the ground, not financing them entirely, but somebody is just short a couple $100 for that cash register they need or something, things like that. After a couple of years of these people not paying me back, not honoring, the terms of our agreement, I just became cynical, and I adopted this attitude of, you know what, like I've lost enough money doing this. Uh, I'm never helping anyone like this ever again. And and then when it came to people who I've never dealt with before, who never fucked me over, I would still just kind of act on the presumption that this is going to happen. So it's like I'm not going to invest in that person. So you might interact with individuals, like me, who have been fucked over, who are very cynical, very pessimistic, very reluctant to make any sort of investment. And if this is someone that you feel like you're entitled to an investment from, could be, let's say, a family member or something like that, it might help to engage with them conversationally, maybe on that topic. Like one of the things that's really refreshing to me is when someone else, without me bringing it up, preemptively talks about how unfortunate it is when people take advantage of investors and how that effectively hurts the chances of any other individual in the future that could have benefited, some people, you lend them $500 and within a couple of months they pay you back the $500 and they've started up a thriving business, and now they're employing people, they're generating value, they're contributing to the community. Like, it's a shame for even one of those people not to have that opportunity, because the person that could be in a position to like help them out has just been, you know, stabbed in the back a couple of times. Um, but it's certainly nice to interact with people who are at least aware of that. Those would definitely be the kind of people that I would be most likely to, support financially. But yeah, so there's some stuff to think about this situation. And then on the flip side, I should have a turntables record scratch sound. Nords, Three of Wands. This card is one of the interpretations of this card that I think is often overlooked. Wands in general get an interesting rep. People often don't want to talk about all of the kind of sexual things that I think they symbolize. And people often, they'll say wands, yeah, creativity, action, but not the creative action. Like sex is the act that creates life, often overlooked. The three, it's the last card before we get into the realm you know, of people, of cards that describe people. This is still kind of in the realm that describes the environment. And I think there's a pretty good interpretation of this card like as representing a young person who, it's not like they're not a person. They are a young person, but the 4, 5, 6, 7, and the Queen and King, those represent, I think, like adults in different, in different stages um, of their involvement with the world, with society, with culture. Um, I think the 2 would represent like an infant, perhaps a very young child, and the 3 would represent something like uh, a young kid that's like going through puberty, like that sort of era, and it could be epoch maybe in a person's life, and it could be you know like literal puberty, or it could be one of the aspects. Sorry, by literal puberty, I guess I mean it in the physiological sense, of the kind of hormonal changes, bodily changes, stuff like that. Um, but it could also very well represent the kind of puberty that people go through socially, right? Like often kids get a pass. Kids just get a pass. And it's funny, it's not just humans too. Like so many mammals. You have the little babies can like misbehave. They can the the lowest ranking chimpanzee babies can go over to the leaders of the troop and mess around. Like if they were adults, they would have the crap kicked out of them. They'd be exiled out of the pack. But like the leaders tolerate these kids being stupid, and then there's a period of time after which it's like, okay, now you're an adult, you know, and it's not like it happens overnight. Generally, parents, neighbors, friends, society, teachers, community members, there's a period of time at which they start having expectations, new expectations of individuals. And it's not just like, it's an interesting phase because during childhood development, I think it'd be pretty safe to argue that um, every day you're like this kid is like learning new things, learning new ways of adapting to their social environment, to their physical environment. But the interesting difference with puberty often is that regardless of whether it actually applies itself to the individual or not, these young people, they start hearing narratives along the lines of like, okay, you need to start shaping up into the person that you are going to become permanently now. So it's not like here's just a new change you have to undergo. In some ways, it's like this is the final change. It's not like things won't change. You'll go through plenty of adaptations as an adult, but it's like you need to become an adult, and then you will forever no longer be a child, right? In terms of your responsibilities. I mean, like for for men and women, or for boys and girls, um, maybe not as much now as throughout the millennia of human history. There's literally a point in time after which a young girl like can become pregnant. Before that, she can't get pregnant. After that, she can. That's a crazy huge difference. That's a massive new responsibility, right? And and then on the flip side, it's like with boys, it's like at a certain point, like a a boy is just not capable of impregnating anyone, and then overnight he is, right? Again, huge responsibility. Um, yeah, like society, most societies take that seriously and and it's very important for those young individuals to be educated, to have their behaviors shaped, you know, something like uh, early sex education. It's like, has been proven time and time again to have a huge impact on the lives of individuals for better or for worse. Like there's certainly a lot of very well researched results in areas where people are taught one thing versus areas where people are taught another thing. Um, I don't think that there are very many places where young individuals aren't taught something right around that time and taught it with like a serious tone. Now in some places it's just like it's weird. It could be weird sounding religious stuff. To the atheist, in some places it sounds like unholy, you know, uh, brutal, unenlightened stuff to the spiritual, but nonetheless. So I think I think this card for the individual symbolizes this 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 kind of period, this this event, and I think being aware of the fact that it's happening, being aware of the scope. I like the character in this picture surveying the horizon, seeing this big world opening up in front of them, right? It's it's really handy to be able to see that big picture when you're in a position when you're going to start taking on a whole new set of responsibilities that society and your parents and just people they're gonna take it pretty seriously. They're gonna expect you to behave in a certain way, and seeing that new environment of expectations, seeing as much of it as possible, understanding what people are going to expect of you, um, is really valuable. It could be a similar situation to, I guess, kind of metaphorically, to like if you go to another land. Maybe you leave the city and you move to a small town. Doesn't even have to be necessarily changing countries. It's like the expectations on everyone in that small little community are radically different than the expectations on city people. Moving from the small town to the big city. If you behave the same way that you did in the small town, you're gonna have a you're gonna have a very unfamiliar reaction because the expectations from the city dwellers is gonna be like completely different. Why aren't you behaving in an atomized, you know, disconnected fashion? Why are you trying to be so friendly? Like it's a uh, common common sort of thing for people to coming to a big crowded metropolis feeling very disconnected, and then going to a small town. It's like people just won't leave me alone. Everyone just talks all the time. It's like, yeah, people are like really interconnected. Going to another country, like there could be there could be a whole slew of um, entirely different and unique customs. I think it really helps to survey the environment when you're transitioning. You're growing up in that sense. You know, people are going to start expecting different things from you. Um, it's good to have a long look at that landscape of what those expectations are going to be, and you could prepare for it. On the flip side, again, we all contribute to this landscape. We all contribute to the socio-political narratives that young people themselves, let's say going through puberty, are exposed to. That uh, new visitors, if you live in the city, the people coming in from the small little towns, they're interacting with partially your narrative that you contribute to. Um, Immigrants from other cultures, right? They're interacting with what you put out there. I think that I think that being mindful of our contributions to that socio-political landscape of expectations, particularly in how people act, I think that's another good distinction to point out here, because the wands are about action, creativity, sexuality. So in terms of those things, I don't think it's as much what people say. That would be more like a swords thing. I don't think it's as much like the kind of friends that you have or how you socialize, or that would be more like a cups thing. I don't think it's as much like how you vote with your money, quote unquote. That would be like a Pentacles thing. But it's like how you act, how you move, what kind of stuff you create, and how you engage sexually. Um, but yeah, as far as as far as interacting with people, uh, in in the situations where we are the ones contributing to that environment, um, I think it would certainly be a good idea to also consider that horizon, consider what it is exactly that we're contributing to. What are the virtues guiding the particular cultural standards, ethics, that we uphold, to understand them, and and to do so, to be better able to clearly communicate to young people entering adulthood, to you know people coming into the environment for the first time, um, to have a clear idea of, this is what is done here. These are the views that we hold. These are the beliefs that we have. This is how we do things here. To be able to communicate that effectively, not just to like the opposite. I'm guessing the obstacle version of this card would be like someone saying, do this, or this thing that you're doing is bad, stop doing it. And then you ask why, and they're like, it just is, just stop doing it. Or something like, because it's illegal, you know or because God says so, without like knowing that something is illegal, without understanding why it was made illegal in the first place, how it affected people, why that sacrifice is worth it, why exerting that control over individuals and enforcing that law, taking away whatever freedom it takes away, why it's worth it. Like, having that understanding, instead of just kind of blindly oppressing people with, this is the way it is, this is our culture, this is, being able to explain, why is this our culture? If whatever your beliefs are, this is why these are our beliefs, right? So that when you engage with young people who maybe ask those questions, why do we even do things this way? You might have an answer that, you know, might actually convince them, instead of just being like, it's just the way it is, right? Um, yeah, so I think I'll leave it there. Yeah, so be be wary, be aware of, promises not always being kept, investments made particularly in political, socio-political. I guess this could even be something along the lines of like investing in your investing in your own beauty, being like, oh, if I get this haircut, or if I get these clothes, or if I get this plastic surgery or something, then everyone is going to treat me this different. Everyone will treat me better. Like all of the people who fall for, you know, in the West, it's often like dick enlargement pills for guys, and they like actually think like, oh, if I only had a bigger dick, then everyone would treat me better. It's like, maybe that would factor into how people treat you, maybe slightly, but probably not. You're probably not going to get the result you're expecting. or in some places where it's like skin whitening, skin darkening, eye color change, your nipples aren't pink enough, body hair, just like shit like that. It's like people who make those types of alterations, and then they think everything will change once I have this. The way that I'm treated, the way that people interact with me, it'll all change. And then this card is like those things. Those things don't always work out the way you intended, and the opportunity for, I guess, much better success of integrating with individuals transitioning to roles of new responsibility, to entering the community, people, becoming members of the society or of the contemporary philosophical discourse or whatever, being able to contribute to that by surveying surveying the cultural landscape, understanding the basis behind um, the rules that the existence of the rules that we have. Thanks for watching. I'll be back tomorrow. Drop me a like, or you can drop me a comment if you would like to be entered for a free one-on-one reading. Thanks for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.